Hello everyone, we're looking at my leaf mold only worm bin, the one that I'm only using leaf mold as a carbon source. Last time we found that great avocado worm ball and I fed the worms a corn cob, which actually isn't enough food for them, and it's been 11 days. And so I'm like, you guys, I hope you're doing okay. Here's a crunchy avocado shell. So obviously that, I guess was just crunchy a little bit on the outside. So here's the corn cob. I uncovered a little bit of it already, and there's worms. There's the corn cob itself. Let me dig up the worms all the way to the bottom and turn this over. Let's look at the worms that are in this system. There they were, clustered around the corn cob. Not surprising, even though that was a consumed corn cob, there were just scraps left on it, but they found the food. Now, leaf mold is great food, and you know, the more I'm looking at this system, the more I'm regretting what I'm about to do, which is to give a moist feeding. You know, I think what I'm gonna have to do is suck it up, feed it, and then do, like I said last time, work in some of my powdered leaves to dry out this system. But even a spent corn cob gives lots of nutrition for the worms, lots of areas for them to dig into the yummy corn. I'm sure you've seen people break open corn cobs, and the worms are in the middle of it as well. So there's so much for worms to eat. And I know I just disturbed this off the corn cob, or I guess I couldn't catch it in time before I turned it over, but there are cocoons on that corn cob. So I have a feeding here, and because of the moisture level of this bin, I thought that I would give this bin my avocado pit stash. Normally I give it to Cinderella or Gilligan, but I'm thinking this bin is so moist that these worms can take care of avocado pits, you know, and so let me just dig out these compressed castings, because I don't want to leave any chance at all that the worms are not getting aeration throughout this bin. It has no lid on it. Well, the bubble wrap is pretty well sealed actually. I'll probably start leaving that off, or at least only partially covering the top. That will help with the moisture as this bin gets to completion. But you know, I wanted to make sure that the worms had aeration, but also, you know, just, you know, how they are being distributed throughout the bin. This I thought was a stiff worm, but it turned out to be a twig. Phew, thank goodness. All right. So yes, when you use leaf mold, you get little twigs and other things that came along for the ride. All right, so let me just tunnel in the middle. I gave some new carbon last time when I gave that corn cob, so I'm not going to give more carbon this time. Like I said, I'm giving them avocado pits, and the feeding that I prepared for them is some really old applesauce. So I thought I would give them the pits and the applesauce all together, and I really hope that's not a mistake. It is a moist feeding, but I thought the avocado pits would get a jump start on getting finished. Look at, I'm making a nice slurry. Look at my hand is all messed up now, of avocado pit and applesauce together. So there is the feeding for this week. A lot of grit went in, probably a bit too much, but that's okay. And honestly, this may be my last wet feeding, and at this point I may just let this bin coast on the residual leaf mold and then harvest it and dry it out a little bit. So I'm going to leave the plastic somewhat off, and we'll see a giant congregation of worms when I check in on this bin the next time. All right, everyone, bye for now.